Okay, hello and welcome back to the Get to Know podcast, the podcast, or as the title suggests, we get to know someone or something each and every week, because today we've got something a little bit different. It's something I've wanted to do for a while, so each episode we can talk about topics or just any subject or anything, and this week we're talking about Star Wars, and so I got someone who probably likes Star Wars more than anybody else I know. George, hello. Okay, apologies. So basically, before this episode starts, I just want to explain. For the first few points that we were talking about, it might have been like the first half an hour maybe of recording. His audio wasn't recording by accident. I only noticed it halfway through. So you're going to hear me for a little while just talk about my top films and how we go down the tiers. Basically, all we did was slightly the sequels, talk a little bit about some of the others, but the main good stuff is kind of covered, so it's not too bad, and I hope you still enjoy the podcast. We have made sort of a, not a tier list, but a ranking list of our favourite to least favourite of pretty much everything Star Wars, so films and TV shows. Yeah, we'll do both of our least favourites, so obviously you can't hear him and I agreed with what he said because we had the same, but we both said The Last Jedi. Yeah. Number 13 on my list, I've got Rise of Skywalker. 12, mine is Solo. So my 11 is Force Awakens. We'll go on to our 10th one. Mine is because I haven't watched all of it, so I'm going to put Rebels there. I don't actually like the fact that I've put this where I've put it, but at number 9, I've put Phantom Menace. And I actually, I don't know, but I couldn't think where else to put it. So my number 8 is Return of the Jedi, and part of me wants to switch them. Okay, so now that you're all caught up with what my list was, I'll just catch you up with what George said his list was. So his
Empire
last bottom one was Last Jedi, then Rise of Skywalker, Force Awakens, Clone Wars, the 2008 movie,
met Yoda,
Solo,
he's
Rogue
these
One,
things.
Rebels, and now here he is talking about A New Hope.
In New Hope, he just didn't feel like... I know it's the start, but it was a really slow start for me. I don't really like rewatching it. It's not... I know it's the film, isn't it? It's like the Holy Grail, but I don't really enjoy it, and that's a bit of a controversial one, putting that at 8. Alec McGuinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi, though, that was really, really good. But I think it's partially because of it was made in, the 70s, the 80s?
Yeah.
Easy. It was made so long ago. There's little things that I watch, and I'm like, oh, that just annoys me, seeing like the cable from Obi-Wan's arm when he's fighting Vader. It gets me, and it's like, it's just little things like that. The film as a whole, it is a really good film to watch, but I don't really. I
think the only reason it's higher up on my list, and it's not that much higher up, is purely because it started everything. Yeah. And that's it.
Luke is a really good character in the expanded universe, and after Return of the Jedi, that's when his character really comes into a hole, and no one gets to see that because it isn't classed as canon anymore. But the whole Star Wars thing for me, I find the story more about Vader than it is about Luke. Like, it is Vader's story.
Yeah.
And the first film doesn't give you that vibe because you don't know who the man under the mask is until the end of it. And then you sat there wondering, for how many years? 15, 20 years. People were sat there wondering, who is this guy? And then you get a little kid doing pod racing, and it's like, same one? You know what I mean? Just a random kid with no dad. Because people didn't understand what a midichlorian count was. Like, that was a whole completely new subject. The Force was supposed to live in all beings. You know what I mean? They changed the concepts, and I think that's why a lot of people kind of broke away from that. But for A New Hope, for me, 8's solid, especially with what's above it.
Yeah.
And what's below it. It's a lot better than everything else that we've spoken about before. And like Rebels, Rogue One, and A New Hope, those all together as well, like they're 3 in a row for me. And they all, like, that era, it is interesting, but I feel like out of those 3 for that era, A New Hope does the least justice to it. Because it's solely driven on this character, and we're going to get, and we want these things to happen. Some of the scenes are really good, though. Like Is it the garbage compactor scene?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's one of those where you're gasping. I think it was there was a TV show and it's the clip. It's the guy and he's trying to get his girlfriend to watch Star Wars for the first time, and they're hid in the room listening to it, and that scene happens and like we should have heard a, but nothing happened. Like that's kind of what they were trying to get at for that. But I just feel like the other 5 films were better than that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So mine was Return of the Jedi at 8.
Let's see.
And so, to be fair, the only reason it's actually above New Hope is because the New Hope like started it all. Return of the Jedi is good. Like I really enjoy it. There's just, I don't know. I feel like especially after Empire Strikes Back, it doesn't do much more than that. If that makes sense. Like it doesn't do a whole lot more than Empire Strikes Back. It's kind of the same film in a sense.
Yeah, in some senses it kind of recycles the Death Star and things like that. But it actually introduces you to Palpatine. You know what I mean? The mysterious hooded figure that you've only seen through the HoloNet. It's like you get to see this guy, and if a lot of people won't have seen it, I don't know if you are, but if you see the version that it was in cinemas when it originally released, it is not Ian McDermott. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know what that is. But to see that man now, I think at the end of that film, it does really, especially with Vader coming back to the light side and him, Palpatine should have been dead from that point on. Don't bring him back, you know what I mean? It was such a good ending, and then Luke should have proceeded to go on to greater things, but we never get to see that. So
yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the only reason it's. But so below it,
the intro to that film though, the whole Jabba's palace and getting Han back out of Carbonite. Yeah, it does do a lot of justice to the film.
Yeah.
And there's the meme about R2 and Luke explaining, we're going to put my lightsaber in you, and then I'm going to jump and do a flip, and you're going to shoot it up, and I'm going to catch it. It's like R2's done that all before. He knows exactly what's going on. But they do so well with it, introducing the Sarlacc pit and then killing Boba Fett, the guy that tracked Han Solo's ship, tracked the Millennium Falcon down so easily in Empire, and you just kill him like that in the film. He's gone, and it's like you're left to wonder for how many years what's actually happened to him. The whole intro to that film was really, really good in my opinion. I don't really like the Endor scenes.
No, the whole Ewok thing is a bit like
the Ewoks drive me crazy. But apart from that, everything on an Imperial Star Destroyer just looks really good. You know what I mean? And it's all, a lot of it was oil paintings back then, wasn't it? They did it a different way, and for what they did it with, they're both amazing films.
Well, under 8, so 7, I've got A New Hope. Well, you got at 7.
I've got The Mandalorian.
Oh, okay.
That's a bit low than some people would put it. I'll let you go first. Because,
so New Hope for me is there, just purely because, like I've said, it started the whole thing off. It is an alright film. It's a bit slow at times. Like there's a few things you could cut out, and like you've said, if you did that film now, it could be like 20 times better.
Amazing.
Like the fan edit of like the Vader against Obi-Wan fight. It's insane. Like,
it really is. And the way that they still culminate the original footage and bring it into it makes it so good. So good. If
that had happened in some like a fight like that, it would just be mad. But obviously they couldn't do that, so they just hit each other a few times. But
yeah, they didn't undergo any intense training like Hayden and Ewan did. You see the videos of them training for that scene, and it's crazy. And then you look back then, and it's like, how did this captivate people as much as what we're watching did? Do you know what I mean?
So yeah, it's kind of just there because it, like I've said, it started everything.
Yeah, definitely.
So it deserves the respect.
Yeah. But there's just other films that people of our age will enjoy more than A New Hope. It's like when you introduce someone to Star Wars, a lot of people say start with A New Hope, but I feel that if you start with that now, people want the context first, don't they? They don't want to watch something and then go back. People want to start and just go forward. And I think time skipping and going back and forth, it creates a lot of trouble. You know what I mean? People don't pick up on things, but it works for what it is, and it's a good film. Like they could make it so much better with, like you say, the fan edit. If anyone hasn't seen that, that's a really good fan edit. If you do like Star Wars, well, I assume you do because you'll be watching this podcast. So.
Right. So yours was Mando. Why is that at 7?
Yeah, the second series of Mando deserves to be like top 3. But if you're thinking of it as a whole, I feel the first series did really well at introducing you to Grogu and introducing Mando. Like the only people we've seen wearing this armor is Boba and Jango. And unless you've watched the Clone Wars and you know a bit about like Mandalore, and even in Rebels they go through it a lot deeper. They have this guy that doesn't show his face. Every other Mandalorian we've seen,
on paper, it should not work as a show, should it? Like to be successful, like you've got a main character who you can't see,
but everyone knows what he looks like. Everyone knows what Pedro Pascal looks like. So it brings new life to. You've got the 2 main characters of the first series: a guy that doesn't show his face, and a child that can't talk. And it's so captivating. It's really good. I just find with the first series that it's a lot. I know it's very much so to mirror like Western, and that's the whole thing that they've gone for with the Mandalorian. Was it like Star Wars? It's based on like Japanese inspired like samurai films and Westerns, old school films. But they send Mando to somewhere to go find something to help him with his mission. He does it. He gets the thing, and then he has to go somewhere else. He does them a favor, and then he gets his thing, goes somewhere else. He does them a favor.
I'm kind of scared.
Felt very repetitive.
I'm kind of scared that they're going down the same route with Bad Batch, because that's what they've done so far with 2 episodes. I hope they don't, but if they do, there's going to be a slow like 14 episodes.
I had that feeling, and because of the trailer as well, especially, they did put a lot of like different words over different scenes. So, like when Hunter's riding away on the bike, it's like, our crew is all trouble. It's not in the right context, you know what I mean? I really hope they do it more justice than that, because well, I assume we'll speak about it when we get to Clone Wars a lot more, because I haven't put it in my list. We've seen 2 episodes. It'd definitely be in my top 10 though, just from that first opening. It kept you watching all the way through. But with the Mandalorian, the only people you've seen wearing this armor, you've seen all their faces, and you know exactly who they are, their names, and what they do, really. With him, he's just him. And then he's got these few people that he goes underground to see, and they're all wearing the same. And the armorer, who I think is Rook Cast from the Clone Wars. You know Maul, when he was in command of Mandalore.
Yeah.
There was him, Gar Saxon, and then there was Rook Cast.
Yeah.
But if you pay close attention to the armorer's Beskar, she still has the helmets, the horns. Sorry, like the Zabrak horns. Whereas in the Clone Wars, they're very prominent because Maul's there. But if you think after she essentially had no more use for Maul, she might have still supported him. So she keeps those little Zabrak horns. Because female Zabraks as well, they don't have as big horns as males, if they have horns at all. But she kind of keeps those just to pay respect. And it's like, same accent as well. If the British accents in this, if they have an accent, they stick with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to get a Mandalorian that served under Maul and then someone that looks like they served under Maul with the same accent without them being connected. Surely it's got to be. But they introduce it and they show you, like, you don't really learn about who he is until the second series, with learning he was adopted. He was a child of the Watch, so he was a terrorist foundling essentially. That's how Bo-Katan saw the Children of the Watch.
Yeah.
But bringing in characters in the second series that are a lot more familiar, like Boba Fett, bringing him back. Seeing the Marshal, he was a comic book character that Dave Filoni adapted into this. And he does play a pretty different role, but I'm pretty sure, from what I remember, he serves Boba Fett in the comics rather than just acquiring Boba Fett's armor.
Yeah.
So with all that, bringing that into it, you see it and you're like, I know that from somewhere. You're looking at it and you're like, where have I seen that before? And he takes it, and it makes sense after a bit. You see Tamora Morrison pop up, and it's just like, yes, this guy is back. Like, this is where he should be. Bringing Ahsoka back into the series, but into live action in general. That, for me, that and the Luke moment were the two standout parts for me.
Yeah.
Because it, as well as bringing characters back and fan service, because that's a lot of what the Ahsoka part was. It was fan service. It sets up so much for the future with following on with Luke's story. And if Sebastian Stan plays Luke, then it's gonna be good. They're gonna carry it on, and you'll get to see so much more of him. We already know there's an Ahsoka series coming out, so fingers crossed that gets what it deserves. Because Rosario Dawson did a really good job, and I know a lot of people hated like that way of Ahsoka purely because of how the montrals weren't pointed. Like, it didn't look right, but she did a really good job for what it is. And again, mentioning characters like Thrawn, just bringing that up, it just opens so many different places they can go with it. It works really well. And then the Luke scene, we'll talk about that one when we get to you. It for you, because we can go on about that.
It's next for me. So number 6 for me is Mandalorian. So
my 6 is Attack of the Clones.
Right. Okay.
So
Mandalorian. For me, Mandalorian kind of like fully brought me back to Star Wars. Like, I've always liked it, but then after, like, obviously the whole Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, Solo, all that, I was like, it's just not good. But then Mando comes along, and it's just finally something good. And then season 2, like you said though, it's almost fan service like every episode. Like, you've got Ahsoka, you've got I forgot the names now.
Ahsoka, Boba Fett, the Marshal coming back. You've got Luke in one episode, Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan, that's the word I was looking for.
There's Sasha Banks from WWE plays one of the Mandalorian. I didn't realise that till recently. She plays one of the Mandalorian. It's like they bring in so many people into this, and it's just working really well. Did you? Just a question. When you watched it, had it already all released by the time that you started watching the first series?
The first series, yeah. Second series,
did you not clock onto it straight away and just think?
Not straight away,
no.
No. But then, I was with it on the second series. I was watching that as it came, but
which do you prefer? What, like, with a series like that, do you prefer to just binge it all in one, or get the weekly fix like we are now with Bad Batch?
I actually reckon I prefer weekly, especially with the second series, because every episode's kind of similar. How it's like you've said, it's go to a planet, do something, get something, next planet, do something, get something. So each week actually does, for me, kind of work quite well with that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I feel like you'd get a bit sick of the formula.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me,
they like as I would say, fan service, just and that final scene, that whole last 3 episode arc where they go to the Seeing Stone and Grogu essentially connects with Luke, but then the next episode bring in Bill Burr's character back. It worked really well to progress the story, and you finally get to see Mando's face.
Yeah.
So it makes it even more in the next episode when he shows it voluntarily rather than having to for the mission. He reveals his face because he has to for the sake of Grogu, and then he says bye to him, and he voluntarily does it as a respect. You know what I mean? Like, to say, we know each other now. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's just the whole Luke thing. Like, that gave me a feeling like similar to like Endgame.
Yeah.
Like, only a few things actually give you that feeling of like, oh my god, no, like, that's mad.
Like when the Luke for me was like when you see everyone come out of the portals. It's like on your left cap, and then it just goes. You know what I mean? It's crazy. They did really well with Luke as well, showing you how much Mando struggled with one Dark Trooper.
Yeah.
He had like pure Beskar, and that's hard. You know what I mean? Yeah. He struggled with one, and the fact that Luke just comes in bossing it. Just how many years later? 10 years after Return of the Jedi, it shows he's not just that guy that could hardly swing a lightsaber. You know what I mean? Hammering his dad's arm. No, he knows what he's doing now. And a lot of people picked up on just, I think it's either the last one or the second to last Dark Trooper. How he does the Force Crush. A lot of people are like, how can he do that? That's a Sith ability. Do you remember the slave arc in Clone Wars?
Yeah.
Obi-Wan does it to two of the droids. When he's distracting the Zygerian at the top while Ahsoka and Anakin are out looking for the bombs, he turns around and does it, and I was like, I knew I'd seen that somewhere before. It's not just a bad guy that does it. It works. But and then bringing R2 at the end, it, like, the connection between him and Grogu, it makes you just like, there's so much more story there as well. Like, they can bring before and show you Grogu's origin. They've opened up everything.
You saying that about that has just made me realise. Have you seen it was like the original Clone Wars animation where it was like a 2D like animated thing?
Yeah, it's all on Disney Plus now.
Yeah, and there's a scene, and some guy was talking about how stupid it is when Mace Windu like jumps into an army and just like force crushes all of them.
The B2 battle droids in there. He's just punching them all. No lightsaber. Nothing. He's going in.
He's just barred them all, and then he uses the force and just takes all the bolts out of them.
They reference that in the Anaxis battle in season 7 of the Clone Wars as well, don't they? You know, when he stands at the top and he's like, I have disassembled over 1 million of you B2 and B1 battle droids over the... And it's like, we know, mate. We know what you've done.
What was your... what were we on?
6.
What was your 6? Yeah.
Attack of the Clones. It is one of my favourite films. Like, for replay value, I can watch that film over and over again, because I'll happily just sit and watch that and Revenge of the Sith back to back. Yeah. And it satisfies me every time. But the stuff that I've got above it, it deserves to be above it. Attack of the Clones, like I said earlier, a lot of people put this film especially down to bad writing. And with Anakin's character, the bad writing, it isn't written bad. He's a man now that hasn't seen a female like this in 10 years, 12 years. You know what I mean? He has no experience talking to girls. That's like 12, 13-year-old child in like normal world that asks a girl, oh yeah, you alright? He's 19 and he's never spoken, not since he was on Tatooine, he's never spoken to a girl outside of the temple. That's where he's been, you know what I mean? Obviously on missions and things like that. Like he says, he fell in love with that girl when he was 8 years old, and it changed everything. That was not bad writing. That was, he did justice to the situation that character should be in. It shows so much turmoil through that character as well. Like when they go to Naboo and he takes Padme to Naboo, and they're doing the sand scene. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough. But then he has the nightmare about his mum, and it's his foresight coming in.
Yeah.
And he goes there, and you see that first glimpse of just what Vader's theme plays ever so slightly in the background, and it just shows that progression through the character.
Yeah.
We only had 3 films with him as well, 2 really, because he was a child in the other one, and the films make Anakin to be such a whiny teenager. But I don't get the rank that I deserve, you know what I mean? But then once you watch the Clone Wars, it brings so much context to it, and you see that this character isn't just a whiny teenager. That's 3 days of a whole war, essentially. What's he known since he was 17, 18 years old? It's war. He's a general. He's a general in a galactic republic. Like, he sees people die every single day. He's murdered millions. Well, I say murdered. He disassembles droids, really. But yeah, Attack of the Clones. There's a lot of good scenes in it. Like the Dooku, and Yoda battle. The Anakin and Obi-Wan one's very brief, but with Yoda, it really shows. And if you don't know a lot of the lore, Dooku's actually Yoda's Padawan.
Yeah. So
it brings a lot more to the battle. It's like Dooku says it. This can't be decided in our knowledge of the Force, right? They're so good, but then Dooku destroys everyone with a lightsaber except for angry Anakin. Really,
Yeah.
he's the best swordsman that there is. But
It's kind of like the first time
Christopher Lee.
it's like the first time that you see Yoda like actually do anything as well.
Yeah.
Really, like in the whole thing.
Well,
So
what else do you see of Yoda before then? A guy, a politician, essentially. That's what he is in
Yeah.
Episode 1. Episodes 5 and 6. 5 and 6. He's a crazy,
yeah,
just hermit. Like, no, he just turns up. Why Luke's looking for this Jedi master, and this guy turns up, and it turns out to be him, and he just dies in his second film. And it really brings a lot more. A bit too slow. Like.
Yeah.
The politics in Episode 1 and 2, they are a lot slower. Episode 3 is a bit better because yeah. It's not slow politics now. We're getting to it. Like, this is how Liberty dies with thunderous applause. Like, it goes so well.
Yeah.
But yeah, 6 definitely. There's.
Well, if we're going to number 5, my number 5 is Attack of Clones as well.
Okay.
Right. What's your number 5?
Mine's the Clone Wars.
Right. Okay.
The whole 7 series as a whole.
Okay. So, I'll talk about Attack of Clones then.
Yeah, we'll carry on.
I think the main reason that this is so high for me is because it was like so, like as a kid watching that last battle in the arena where all of them are there. Like as a kid, that was so sick. Like,
it looked so much bigger as a kid as well, didn't it?
Yeah,
It was huge.
It's
the only time you get to see the Jedi at full force. Yeah.
And you've got all like the whole Obi-Wan against Django and all. And you get Boba introduced as a kid, and it's just
the whole system of the clones as well. As a film, it isn't as good, but once you see everything else that comes from it, it brings so much more to those moments. Like we've seen Boba grow up at this point.
Yeah.
So it's like now you look back at that and it's like, yeah, that really did work. Like shooting at Obi-Wan and flying the Slave One away. It makes so much sense. It works. And then as what's to come from him as well from that film, they do those two characters obviously killing Django in his first film. It makes sense for the story.
So yeah, that's why it was just a good film as a kid, and even watching it now, to be fair, it's still good. So
it's got so much replay value.
Yeah,
and I find that the prequels definitely they get better the more that you watch them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they got shat on a lot when they first came out, and now people like them a lot more because they've seen it and they know the big picture. Once the big picture's revealed, people are satisfied, aren't they?
But that's why I've said earlier about, like, do you see that actually happening with, like, Force Awakens, Last Jedi and all that? If more stuff got, like, introduced, like, little bits to go in with it, make it a bit more fuller.
But were those films as bad as the sequels?
I don't know, though. That's the thing, because are we saying it's bad the same as other people said that prequels were bad?
I think that was because there was too much politics, and they were very slow films for what they were. Especially when all that you saw in the later films was more in space. It was more like we've got a rebellion and an empire. Like it is the rebellion fighting against the bad guys. The David and Goliath story, really. And with that, you don't see that because there's already balance. As the Jedi are very overconfident with that. The Sith haven't appeared in so many years. It shows so many different elements of what the original films did. I think it was very underappreciated when it released. Yeah. For us, we loved it because we were kids, and they were cool space films with, you know what I mean. Yeah. But as you get to know it more, it really does. They grow as films. So what number was that?
That was 5. Yeah, so you've got Clone Wars.
Is Clone Wars have we already been past that on yours?
No.
No. Is that
No.
3 for you or 4? Is it 4?
No.
Is not the next one. No. Okay.
So why is it there for you?
I'll start with the earlier ones, and then we'll go on to the later ones with you, because it's gonna go on for. But it's a really good series, and it's not just a cartoon. I know the graphics isn't that good at the start, and it does improve as we go on, as we said, with it changing after like season 2 or 3. They bring in so many characters, and they humanize an army, and they make you feel for clones. Like a specific arc that I know that everyone appreciates is the Umbara arc.
Yeah.
Where they're essentially forced to fight against themselves, and you see the struggle that they go through as they're all born from the same DNA, and they have to fight together. Like it's a crazy situation that they were in, but they don't understand what's going on, and they're killing themselves. And then for them to then turn and actually kill Bon Krell, which is crazy at the end. It humanizes so many people, and it puts situations that the films didn't really show you. It's just the clones being, all right, you do this, go do it. You see Anakin marching up, they're all following behind him. They're just following orders, essentially.
Yeah.
Arguably, in Star Wars, Rex is one of the biggest characters outside of the films, by far. Like, when you heard his name in Bad Batch today, it put a smile on your face, didn't it? Because you saw how happy Echo was. Because he's like, Rex was here. Like, it's characters like that they've built up so well. And one of my favourite characters, Ahsoka. The Clone Wars builds that character from absolutely hated in that film that released in 2008 to being one of the most beloved characters in Star Wars. She no one liked that. Except because she was a character for kids. Like she was designed to just be like a little 13-year-old child that's just a bit annoying.
But I think that was kind of like purposeful. Like I feel like they made the first series as that she was annoying and wasn't really likable, but then built it up to be like this great character.
She never followed orders. She was very she was Anakin. Like all the same tendencies, they shared all of those, and they did really well together. But the characters, the build up from the animation, really, it's not. It's not just a series. They've done so well at just bringing characters to forefronts that they shouldn't have, and just developing such a larger universe that the films don't quite touch on. How many 7 series? And how good does it get just from start to finish? It just gets better and better, really, don't it? It's not like people say, "Oh, I ain't seen it because it's for kids." And it's like you watch it and you're like, "Nah, this ain't just for kids." You see them there's so many different stories that they touch on. Like people are dying. There's what kids shows do you see people get stabbed in the heart? Really? You know what I mean? Like,
there's literally
some brutal stuff in
there's
there.
literally a scene where Darth Maul goes, "Let's get the attention of the Republic," and gets off a ship, and he's going, "We're going to slaughter the innocent," and there's just a group of kids, and he gets his like that does not happen on a kids show.
Yeah, even resurrecting Darth Maul as well. Like we said with Solo, so many people miss that, and it's like you get to see that whole character revived, and it makes sense. Like. There's so many reaches that have happened with Star Wars, especially like Rey being a Palpatine. That's such a reach. But Maul surviving death because of his pure hatred, and I think it's a little bit because he has 2 hearts as well. But to the pure hatred of Obi-Wan, it's like when Savage finds Maul after going so far, you know what I mean? That little snake thing. Trick Savage, like I'm gonna feed you to my master. Little do you know, it's his brother. You know what I mean? The first thing that you hear Maul say though is he's reciting the Sith code, which is from like the KOTOR games, and he's insane. He don't, when they go back to Dathomir, he doesn't want to get off the ship, and it makes it so much more believable. Like they revive him, and you see everything that he's felt,
Yeah.
and in that first episode, he says more words in the first 5 minutes you see him than the whole of that first film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Literally, what does he have? 5 lines. We will reveal ourselves to the Jedi at last. That's all he says. That's it. And in the first episode, within 5 minutes, he's recited the same 10 words about 50 times, going crazy.
It's just so good that they brought him back though, because like, imagine if that was it in Phantom Menace. Like, he was such a good character in that. Everyone loved him. He was sick, and then that was it. Like, he just never like.
It again, fan service, isn't it? It was fan service that made sense, and the story that came after, it brings so much more. Like seeing him in Solo, that expands everything. There's so much before, so much that's going to happen after. Just from Dave Filoni thinking, we can revive this character, and it'll make sense.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So, onto number. Wait, did we do? Yeah, my number 5 was Attack of Clones. That was
Then,
so number 4. I feel like this is where we're going to start to get a bit controversial. The next 4, right? My 4, Empire Strikes Back.
My 4's The Phantom Menace.
Oh, okay. Why
so we've covered The Phantom Menace a lot, but it was always my favourite film as a kid, like to watch. Just that the whole Duel of the Fates at the end. For me, it's top 3 scenes in the whole of Star Wars. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
And you don't realise at the time, like, that actually, it changes everything for Anakin. If Qui-Gon would have lived, we possibly never would. Yeah, none of that happens. Like, that one death impacts absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And it shows you Obi-Wan Kenobi. You like what much more can you want?
Yeah.
Like, you get to see Alec McGuinness play him in the original films, and then to see the young version of him, you don't realise straight away. You just see these two guys. One of them's Liam Neeson, and the other one was in Train Spotting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the two weirdest characters to put together.
Yeah.
And then you learn, this is Obi-Wan. Who's Obi-Wan Kenobi? Like, we know who Ben is. Like, who really is Obi-Wan? Because in the first film, I'm sure he never actually says, "My name is Obi-Wan."
Yeah, yeah.
I think Vader refers. Does Vader even refer to him as Obi-Wan?
I think he just calls him Kenobi.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. So it's Ben, really, isn't it, in the first films?
Yeah.
And you hear him mention that a lot in, like, well, that's his covert name, isn't it? In the prequels, he calls himself Ben. But bringing that character to life and actually showing you everything that this guy went through, it's a really good start for all the characters. One of my favourite parts of that film as well, weirdly, is the fact that Padme uses her handmaidens as her. Like, you get to see that. It happens at the start of Attack of the Clones as well, when her ship blows up and it's the handmaiden that dies, and it's like, that's fucking smart shit. That it's like no one noticed that. You just see this woman go off into the desert with him, and you think it's a handmaiden, and little do you know it's actually her. Like, it's really good for what they did.
Right. So well, number 4 for me.
4 for you is
Empire Strikes Back. Purely because I feel like that's like the best of the originals. Like, that's the peak one of the originals, because like you've got the reveal.
It's the best of the originals for me.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you've just got all the best bits of all of them in that one, and like we've both said, A New Hope's got quite a lot of flaws, whereas that one kind of solves a lot of it and fully introduces you to Vader. And
it's seamless as well. It goes from Hoth, you're in the sky for a bit. Luke goes to Dagobah, Han, Leia, Chewie, they all go to Cloud City, and it goes like that, and it works so well.
Yeah.
Like, there's no filler, really. Like, what's filler? Putting R2 and C-3PO in the little torture place and getting to see the droid scream. Like, that's not really filler, is it?
Yeah.
They did great. Like, it's number 2 for me. I'll say that now. It's a great film. And it's so much replay value. Like you said, the best of the originals. You're gonna rewatch it as much as you can. It's a good film. It adapts so many of the characters as well. From A New Hope sets it up really, really well. Being on Hoth randomly at the start, it doesn't make that much sense, but you get into it.
Yeah.
especially with the remake as well. We're changing a few of the bits with those scenes. It does work great.
So
what about you?
So yeah, it's just. I mean, you've pretty much covered it. It's just that the whole film's just great. Like, you get to see all the locations. It's shot really well. Like you said, there's quite a lot of flaws in the first one, really. But in the second one, they've just like stepped up the game. You can tell the first one was a success, basically. Like, it's just stepped up.
They really improved. Is little scenes as well, like when Han goes to shoot Vader and he catches the bolt, and it's like we haven't seen this before. Like, what we've seen him choke people, but we ain't seen him like catch bolts in his hand, like freezing Han in carbonite. It's such a cliffhanger that it's like shit. Like Leia's just told Han that she loves him, and then he just goes, "I know," and then gets frozen in carbonite, and it's just from there you just go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the final scene, seeing Vader and Luke, I am your father. You know what I mean? It's great. Like, it really worked. The bit that doesn't annoy me with that though is how long he hangs on that mast underneath Clad City for.
Yeah.
I don't get that. He should have fell along. He's got one hand as well.
Yeah.
Then the film ends with just them flying to Tatooine, don't it? And it does carry on directly after. So
yeah, so that's why that was at 4 for me. Okay, well, number 3. All right, I'm gonna have a controversial one here. What's your number 3?
I've been thinking that we're gonna have like the same number 1, but now you've said that, I don't. My number 3 is Return of the Jedi.
Right, my number 3 is Rogue One.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so it's my number 3 because it's just like a good film. Like, I feel like I can show that. Like, my mum likes that, and she doesn't really like Star Wars. Like, it's just a good film, and like we've said, the corridor scene is like one of the best scenes, like in Star Wars. Like, it's so good. It's
great.
The acting's great. It just works really well as just a film. Like, without even being Star Wars, just as a film, it's so good.
It doesn't have to have anything to do with Star Wars. Yeah, like that as its own could be just a perfect film.
It's just like a gritty war film, really. Like, that's pretty much all it is. That one,
and like a little undercover mission here and there, sneaking through like the city. But it's so well done. It like really is. From every fight scene to, I forget the character's name, and it's going to really annoy me, but I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me.
Yeah.
He's characters like that, they just stand out, and it's like, that makes the film better. From his whole scene where he doesn't see anything, and he beats all these stormtroopers that were just a stick. Is he a Jedi? No, he just believes in the Force. Like, he's just the guard of the Kyber crystals. That's all he is.
So yeah, what was yours?
Return of the Jedi. I think we've been over it a lot. It's the culmination of just the originals, isn't it? And it's that good of a film. I know I've already said Empire's my second, so it is above it. But I have to put Empire above Return of the Jedi because it's a better film.
Yeah.
But Return of the Jedi, there's so many elements in it that I do like we've already said. Ewoks are just nah. I played Ewok Hunt on Battlefront 2, and that's just, you played that.
Yes.
Yeah. Never again. That's one of the freakiest experiences. But there's the rest of the film. If you take the Ewoks out and Endor, it makes the film better. I do really like the burial of Vader.
Yeah.
And the fact that in the later films, not the later films, the remakes I think it was like 2014 or 11.
When they switched the
and they put Hayden Christensen's ghost in. They've only put his face in. It's still like the old character's robes and that, but it works well, and they're trying to make fan service there again, aren't they? It's that's my favourite bit about Endor, but like the whole opening scene. Yeah. The whole of that is just great. Luke goes in without his lightsaber. I've just given you these 2 droids, and I'm just gonna chill out. I'll surrender myself, and my plan's gonna come to fruition eventually. preemptive strikes. That's what it's all about.
Oh.
So, what's your number 2 then? Oh no, number 3.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's number 2 for me. Number 3 for you. Well, okay. So you're on catch up. So what's your 3?
My 3 was Return of the Jedi.
Right.
I caught up earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorted that out.
Right. So number 2 then for me. This was actually very hard. It took me a long time to decide which one was number 1 and which one was number 2.
I really hope we haven't seen number 1. You know my number 2 already.
I know what your number 1 is, and it's my number 2.
Oh, yeah,
Revenge of the Sith is my number 2. I don't know. I really want to put it on my number 1, but it's just such a good film. Like that's probably tied for number 1. Like,
well, because it's my number 1, but I have like in brackets next to it Siege of Mandalore. Because the whole 5-hour version, if you watch that all together, it's just that's amazing.
That's my number 1 is Clone Wars, just purely because that is like my favorite thing that I've watched from Star Wars. Like that whole bit at the end.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but Revenge of the Sith. Just, I mean, you could talk about it as well because it's your number 1. But like,
we'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk about Revenge. Well, go on then. I'll let you start. I have a lot to say.
It's just so good. Like, you've just got Anakin's switch and the whole takeover of the temple, and I mean the fight between Obi-Wan at the end, and also like that flicking between that and the fight against Yoda and Palpatine. That's the Yoda and Palpatine fight's so underrated. I feel like not many people talk about that because everyone talks about Anakin against Obi-Wan, but everything's just so good. Like. And just all the dialogue at the end. I mean, I know everyone like talks about how weirdly it's scripted, like the whole the my new empire and your new empire and all that stuff. But like Loki now, it's just so like now after a few years and we've grown up and we all know the words to it. It's just so good. Like
it's like you I bet you've seen the meme where it's like it's always what you're doing, never, and then it's the abbreviation for that whole scene.
And bro, the opening scene, the whole them two just flying around is one of the best scenes.
This is where the fun begins, and the film just got better and better and better. That open
General Grievous for the first time.
Even like the underrated parts where like R2 sets the B2 battle droids on fire. It's like those little things that you think that they shouldn't really include that, but it makes a lot of sense. Like the whole this I seen something the other day about this, and it stands out when after Anakin's beat Dooku, because that duel was just incredible. Like, and when you think about it, like Dooku had no intentions of killing Anakin. Palpatine already told him, just toy with the boy, just play with him. We'll see if he can do it. You know what I mean? And he fights him, and he finally kills him. Dooku, the shock on his face.
He just looks at him like, what?
What you're my master, and you've just told him to kill me. Like you've set me up. As they leave, Palpatine's like, leave Obi-Wan. Like his fate will be the same. He's like, leave him. Anakin says his fate will be the same as ours. His fate was the same as theirs. They all died on a Death Star. And it's crazy, like the foreshadowing. Yeah, you know what I mean.
And just like I've not even mentioned like Order 66 and stuff. Like,
I've watched this film every time, and Anakin sat in the council seat, and I'm like, just stay there.
Yeah,
just stay there.
You can't help but just like the whole time watch it and be like, the tiniest little bit changes and it's fine. Like
Padme's in a room alone. Go see Padme. You know what I mean? Go talk to her. You don't have to go see what Palps is doing. We don't care. Just let him die.
No matter how many times you watch it, you think, just listen to Mace Windu. Just like help him. But you can't. Like,
but he literally tells him, if the information you have given me is true, you will be a master at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like this will give us everything that we need to make you that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but it shows that tragedy. Like he's foreshadows his mother's death. Obi-Wan tells him, forget about your dreams. Your visions betray you. And then he foreshadows Padme dying, and Yoda tells him, you need to lose connections with everything. And people see that and they're like, why are they telling him that? You know what I mean? Like help him. Like, just help the guy. And all he wants is to be a master so he can learn how to save his wife.
Yeah.
And he can't do that. So what else is he going to do?
I think
it's my favourite scene in Star Wars. In that, when Palpatine says, "Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?" It's such a good scene because you can see how enticed Hayden Christensen is. Like, he makes that character and the struggle so believable. It does seem very exaggerated at the end, but the scene makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean? Sorry for cutting you off.
It's even like, it's just like the whole just the whole fight at the end, like, it's so well choreographed. Like,
you see the videos of them practicing.
And
they go and they do one slight move wrong, and it's like, restart. We're going from the top, and they're going forwards, backwards for miles. You know what I mean? They're going for it. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. So and as well, like you've said about how annoying it is watching. Like, this is why Clone Wars is one as well, because that adds to it. Like, the whole storyline of them
redeems his character so much.
But they're like so close to finding out about the chips in the clones. Like literally, like they know about them, and they're like, should we do anything about it? And we're like, I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure it's nothing.
Nah.
It's so frustrating to watch.
Even with Ahsoka knowing about Maul's plan for Anakin.
Because Maul literally goes like when he's sat in the throne, and he's like, Anakin, and she's like, nah, Anakin wouldn't do that.
Well, she's on the holo table with Mace, Yoda, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and she's there like, and he's like, sorry, citizen. You know what I mean? You're just a citizen. You can't help us. You're not a Jedi no more. And it's like, they completely disregarded her, and she could have just helped everything. And then Yoda even says, Yoda asks her, what's troubling you? And she's like, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? No
matter what you watch on it, that just everything about it, you just think, like, just imagine, like, it just could have been so much too. Like,
it's like all like you say, Clone Wars is your number one, but all throughout the Clone Wars, it's almost like they've got plot armor throughout the Clone Wars. You know what I mean? Because you know exactly what it isn't almost like they have plot armor. Like, nothing can happen to them. They do so well throughout the Clone Wars at getting you from that point to that point without disrupting anything. In the opening scene, when they go on to Grievous's dreadnought, General Grievous, like, Anakin, like, they meet each other for the first time. You know what I mean? You think they've got 7 seasons of TV where these two have been together, and they haven't bumped past once. There was one of the unrendered episodes for season 6 before Disney overtook, and it was going to be on one of the ships, and Obi-Wan and Anakin were like searching for a huge kyber crystal, and they're going down one of the passages on the ships, and they kind of go past this door frame, and Grievous has stood there, and Obi-Wan's there, like, and Anakin's not, but Anakin's not looking, so he doesn't actually see him at all, and it's supposed to carry on like the running thing that they have never met. It's like he says, someone with your reputation, I expected him to be a little bit older. Like, he's a 21-year-old kid with all of 4 or 5 years of war, easy for 3 or 4 or 5, something like that. The time spans. I don't know.
I can't remember.
No, it's about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
easy.
Something like that. Yeah,
easy. And there's like the plot holes with Ahsoka as well. Like, it makes so much sense watching it, and then seeing that they never speak about it in the film because it works. Like, with watching the Siege of Mandalore together, it makes sense. Like, there isn't plot holes. You know what I mean? There was for many years until they brought that out. But they fixed everything, and it worked so well. The battle on Mustafar is just, like, the fact that his wife that he already knows is going to die, he starts force choking her. Oh, sorry. We'll go before that. When he turns up to Mustafar, the Separatist leaders, and they're like, we're just waiting for a Sith Lord. And Newt Gunray knows what this is like because he had to deal with Maul in the first film, and he's petrified when he sees those little Mars droids coming down, and he just turns up and slaughters them all. And you see this is the clip, and Anakin's kind of turned to the side. You see his eyes, and you just see Wok Tambor in the background. And Wok Tambor is there like that. He's petrified at what's happening because a month or two earlier, those two are face to face when saving Echo. You know what I mean? They've crossed paths so many times, but he's met at the next level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Padme's there. He's force choking his dying wife for some reason. Makes no sense. I never understand that.
There's a thing that they were like supposed to do, like a storyline where Anakin kind of thought that Padme and Obi-Wan were having like a little bit of an affair. And it makes a lot more sense when it's like that.
Because there was the whole cut scene where it's Obi-Wan like saying to Padme like, I know that you two have been together. Like I'm just. And
but then Clone Wars kind of builds on that as well, doesn't it? But because he's like, "Oh, how's Padme?" Like when he's walking away from him.
When they're in the barracks, and he's like, "I hope you told Padme I said hello." Like he knows. But then that look Anakin gives him after that comment, it's a sinister look. You know what I mean? It's like, don't fuck with her. Like. And for Obi-Wan to walk off the ship, and it was like, you brought him to me. Like he knew at that point that those two were colluding, but it wasn't like that. And then the craziest shit. It's got to be one of the best fight scenes in film. Easy. Like the CGI is not bad at all. Nothing looks bad.
For the year that it was like released as well, it's mad.
2003, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Like there's films that come out today that aren't as good as that. You know what I mean? And then it all came full circle from the first film, where Anakin finally like, I'm gonna do this. You know what I mean? This is gonna take me to the next level. And he tries to perform the exact same move against Obi-Wan that Obi-Wan did to Maul all those years before, and his arrogance just. There's one of the scenes in the comics, and it's a Obi-Wan and Anakin comic, and it's just before they go on a mission somewhere. Anakin's training in front of like a lot of people, and all the other Padawans take the piss out of him because he's a slave and he hates it. He gets super angry, and he ramps up the settings on his training droid. The simulator brings out Darth Maul, perfectly attuned to how Darth Maul would fight, and he defeats it in front of Obi-Wan, Mace, and Palpatine. And like you see in the comic at that point, like Palpatine click, like I need to keep an eye on this guy. But Obi-Wan and Mace like both saying he's getting a bit too arrogant. You know what I mean? And you see that in Revenge of the Sith, like the opening scene of the Siege of Mandalore, where he kind of just rolls up. He's like, I've already won my battle. Like, what are you still doing here? And all the 501st are there. He surrenders himself, tricks them, and then just wins like that. Like, he was such an arrogant character. It was kind of instilled in him. He was called the Chosen One before he'd even met more than one Jedi. You know what I mean? Like he had that. He was a slave that went into another ring of slavery, but he was the special kid that got no privileges whatsoever. Yeah. And he just lost it all there. Jumped over him, and he'd already been warned. He knew what was going to happen. Done. No arms, no legs, and it's so emotional though watching it, because you can feel once you've watched all the Clone Wars and you see that bond that they have together. The films don't give that bond justice at all. They don't really show you how close they are. They go off on separate missions and they argue quite a lot, but their relationship grows through the Clone Wars. Yeah, like you see it all the way through, and it means so much more after that. You know what I mean? Yeah. They just do it so well, don't they? They do it so well.
That's why I was like, this is why I say that my tide to number one was Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith, because all Clone Wars does is add to Revenge of the Sith.
Definitely, 100%.
It just makes it even better.
as a whole, they are just. So that's why I put the Siege of Mandalore like next to it, because it just improves it. It makes that story 10 times better. As to how oblivious everyone was of what was going on. Like you see. Remember the vision that Yoda had with the Wills at the end of season 6?
Yeah.
And he sees that Palpatine's who he is, but he doesn't kind of register that. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
It's like going back to like how frustrating it is to watch. It's like when everyone's like, "Oh, we're nearly at the end of the war. Like Obi-Wan's taking down Grievous. It's everyone's kind of winning battles."
Tech said it yesterday, didn't it? Tech said it. He's like, "Oh, well, my sources tell me that the war should be over soon." And then next thing you know,
yeah. So yeah, that is my list. What was your number 2 and 1? I can't remember.
2 was Empire and 3 was Revenge of the Sith. 1 was Revenge of the Sith. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
they were definitely the best 2 for me.
I mean, Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith for me.
I didn't expect the tier list to go on for as long as it did.
Yeah, I know. I've got other topics I was going to talk about, but to be honest, I
had a few things wrote down.
But I reckon we end it here, and maybe we'll do another episode on everything else. And this was just like a tier episode.
We're just a tier list. We've literally we planned to speak about so much, and we've gone through the longest tier list probably.
What is it, like nearly 2 hours or something like that?
Hour and 45 minutes, easy. I think we started the call about 5 minutes before we went on, didn't we? So.
Well, yeah. So that was the it was supposed to be it kind of still is get to know Star Wars, but yeah,
it's a little breakdown from all the films from like our viewpoints.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, thanks for listening and cheers for joining me.
Nice one, bro.